Welcome back to another advanced GameMaker Studio tutorial, and I had a little request to make a Minecraft 2D version, a Pixelworld or a Growtopia, and those games have one thing in common: you can create kind of blocks inside your world on which you can walk on if you like. So this is the interesting part, and of course you can destroy everything, and hey, you have some gravity concerning that stuff. And of course you can use those tiles, because this is a tile based system, and represent like, hey, are we under this specific position? Cool, let's create an instance which is falling down, and then you can collect that thing, because hey, why not? And here I will make this video into two parts. So the first part is the creation and of course the representation of this little block here. So this is the interesting part, and then of course the destruction of the terrain. The second part will be about the collision system, but this is a one-to-one system of GM Wolf's collision tile-based system. So if you like to check out his video, I will do it anyway after this one. But if you want to check out this video and then after that you want to instantly access it, hey, link in the description below, because this is not mine system was, let's call it, not the best. I tried it and it sucked, and therefore, hey, where? So without further ado, a little bit chilling for myself. Hey, I'm OneUpIndie, I'm a developer, and I made this Udemy course for guys who want to go into the video gaming industry or want to be a game developer or indie game developer, but I'm not sure, hey, where to start, what to actually know. Is that actually a thing for me? So hey, I made this video tutorial course in Udemy for you, and of course check out my other stuff. And if you're not subscribed, hey, subscribe, because you get more of my stuff for free. So without further ado, let's jump right into the good stuff. And here what you need to understand is I'm having, first of all, here quite a lot of trashy things looking around. They should be gone. And that what we are doing is basically just one little object which is doing the whole stuff here. And this is, I call it cursor, you can call it whatever you like, and it will represent and destroy and create tiles, which is the good part. So let's create a second one and we build it up from the ground. So the first thing which you need to understand is we are having a tile set, and this is a 16 by 16. Let's go and delete all those things. And what you need to understand is, first of all, it has kind of slots, and for example it has, or you can call it an index or whatever. So these positions are, let's say, 0, 1, 2 and so on, and we're going to use these guys here. So basically position 2 to, I guess this is 12, and for example we will of course later on check a position which is, for example, this guy here, and then it's like saying like, hey, are we at this position? Cool, then we can create a spawn a money sack. And so you see the context. So basically this is monkey lad tileset, link in the description below, free to download and use. And then, well, it has 1024 pixels, and for example, therefore you can actually calculate one line. So basically if you divide it by 16 you end up by 64, and it's, if you start with 0, then this position is 64, then this position is 128 and so on, and this is how I get and grab the numbers later on. This is kind of important to understand in the later context. So the first thing which you need, of course, is a tileset layer. One is, for example, you can use this for collisions, and the other one, well, for decoration, which basically does nothing. But the collision part is, I guess, the more interesting part, because it's a destructible or create system. And therefore, first of all, you need to, well, create your tile system or your tile set, and then of course assign it a sprite, and then, I don't know, give it your width and height. And of course this is 16 by 16, so you use a different one with different kind of numbers, but I guess this is an advanced tutorial, so you know how to set it up. If you're not sure about tiles and tile sets, link in the description below, a little introduction to there. So let's go into our cursor, which is now an empty object. Put that thing into the room, I said put that thing into the room, and then give it the block sprite, because those blocks will be represented what kind of block we want to do. So here they are just kind of placeholders, and later on we will translate those positions as the indexes in here, so between 0 and 12, and then put them representative to the ones inside the tiles. And this is kind of important to understand. So let's do the first thing. We want to make this thing follow our mouse and draw this little sprite on the screen. This is kind of important to understand. So how can we do this? Well, we just say, hey, draw sprite. Let's go for this one, and then our block. And if you're thinking, but wait a minute, why did we assign this one? This is just a placeholder, we don't use it. We want to do a few other things. Sub image, and this is the important part, is a value which later on we're going to change, because we want to scroll through the options which we are having. For now, this is nothing. And then of course mouse X and mouse Y, and then scale 1:1, rotation. I use this very specifically because, hey, let's make it a little bit tinted so you can actually use it, and then I don't know, 0.8 as an alpha. And for now, let's check it out. We actually are not doing too much with it because this is just a sprite floating around in the ether. But now we need to snap it to a very specific position, because this is not working the way we want. Hello. Okay, nice. Because we want to snap it, as you can see, this is a grid on our tiles, and herefore we need not to have a relative position somewhere here, but all the time at the top left corner. So how can we do this? Quite easy. We just go and grab a few positions. So first of all, we need to align it, then use this one here, and a second one over here. And for now, this is a relative position, but we want to grab ones which is snapping to the grid. So how can we do this? Well, with a modulo, and modulo just means, hey, give me the remainder. So basically what this line actually means, let's make it a little bit bigger. This just means, hey, we grab the mouse position. I don't know, let's say it's 348. Now let's go with a neat number. Let's say we are 162, and if we do a modulo by 16, it will divide by 16 until we just get the remainder. So of 162, because then it's dividing 10 times, we have a remainder of 2, and this remainder we delete, or well, subtract from the original mouse position. And this is how we can create a very easy way how to snap to a grid. Therefore, bam, let's do that here also, but for the Y position, and divide it of course by 16. And for example, once we started, you will see that the mouse is doing its thing correctly, but for example, the mouse has relative positions, but the block is being drawn to kind of a grid, and then it is snapping to it, because hey, the other stuff is already snapping to it also. So great. And now what we want to do is give it a specific number, which are called tile draw. Of course, this is just a variable. You can call it whatever you like. This one, I don't know, let's go for 0, because hey, let's start with our first image index of it. So here, replace it. And for now, what we want to do is we want to scroll through those positions. So we need to have a step event. And then what we can actually do, this is kind of easy. So if scroll, let's see if we can, no, it doesn't work like this. Where are we? So we go for a wheel, mouse wheel. Come on. Let's copy paste it, because hey, ain't nobody got time for that. So we are mouse wheel down. And what do? Well, we update this position to +1, so equals 1. But of course we cannot go out of the bounds because this is limited to 12 indexes. So as you can see, 0, 1, 2, yada yada until 12. And therefore we just say, hey, we want to, if you, for example, if you update it, we need to be smaller than 12. So here, hey, are we smaller than 11? Cool, you can upgrade it, so update it by 1, else clamp it to a position of 0. What does that actually mean? Because hey, we want to that we can scroll all the time, and therefore we kind of loop it. And this part we can actually do the same for mouse wheel up, bam, then we subtract by 1. Of course here we say like, hey, are we what was that, are we bigger than 0? And here we need to be smaller than 12, my bad. Then we can minus it, and if not, the other way around, we are 12. So we are just now going through the indexes and nothing is happening, but this is okay. So we are having a representation of the thing which we like to have. This is the good part. So here, first of all, snapping to the grid, and now just cycling through the indexes also. Of course, if you see Minecraft and all the other games, their systems are a little bit more elaborate. There are drag and drops and all that stuff. This would be a video of 50 to 2 hours, 50 minutes to 2 hours. So let's make it a little bit shorter. So let's get rid of these guys. Region. This is just so you don't see everything. And region. Come on. And region. Here we go. And now this is just for scrolling. And we don't want to see it. Sweet. Alright, the next thing which we like to do is let's actually create something. So how can we do this? Well, kind of easy. So let's say we are releasing our left mouse button. So here, if mouse check button release and then mouse button left. So what do we do? Well, we want to manipulate a tile. This is kind of important to understand. So for example, if we go in here, we want to, because they have per default a position of 0. So this one here, so as you can see, this one is cut out. This is an empty position, so this is just transparent, there's nothing. This is 0. And what do we want to do? If we want to create, we will go a specific position inside this space somewhere here, so one of those tiles. We want to give it, for example, a value of 2, 3, 4, and of course up to 12. So we are using those guys over here. So how can we do this? Well, we just say, hey, tile map set. Here we go. And there are some input parameters, and for that, first of all, we need to grab the tilemap ID, and therefore we need to store that into a variable. Of course, you can do this every time there, but hey, let's be lazy. So first of all, we need to grab the ID of the tilemap and store that into a variable. I don't know, I call it, you can call it whatever you like. And here we need the layer ID, and we need to grab the layer ID. So this is then a thing, layer ID, layer get ID. Here we go. And what kind of layer do we want to grab? Well, the one for our collision. I call it tiles collision. You can call it whatever you like, and put it in here. A lot of tutorials, they store that into a variable and put it in here, but I just chain it together because let's make life easy. So let's go back to the step event. So first of all, we need to grab the tile layer which we actually want to manipulate, and then the tile data. And tile data is, once again, we want to grab this kind of position, which is 0, 1, 2, yada yada yada, and then here 64, and so on and so on. So we want to grab this position, or we want to actually change it. And therefore, for now, we just go for 2. So position 2 is the little star, so 0, 1, 2. So we just stamp or flip it to the 02, and now we need to have the cell X and cell Y. So here we need to understand, hey, this whole grid is based on, so this is cell 00, then cell 01, and so on. Therefore we need to grab those also. How can we do this? Well, we do this by I don't know, 2 variables. So put them up front because we're going to use them a few times a lot. So for example, so what we do, we say, hey, mouse X position and divide it by 16. And because there is a remainder, we use floor, and this will kick out the remainder. So basically, if we have, once again, 162, it will divide it first of all here by 16, and then it will kick out the remainder, and then it will be the position which we need. So here this will be a small number. For example, once again, if you enter the draw event, this was a kind of a precise number in the space, so basically a XY position, but just clamped here. But here we need to have the specific cell, because here all these squares are cells, and therefore we need to grab those cell positions also. So for that we do that with the X and Y position, and then we need to input them as cell X and cell Y. And for now this is already a creation system, so let's check it out. Of course we can scroll, it doesn't really matter because we just flip it to 2. So press, 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 sweet, sweet, sweet. So here, as you can see, already the system works, which is beautiful. And of course, if we say like, hey, we want to actually, so here we say, hey, create tile, we can do the negative version. We can actually destroy a tile. So let's go and destroy. And how is that? Well, we don't really destroy it, we just set it to 0. So MB right. Let's check it out if it does work. Come on. And now we are making holes, and this works beautifully. And let's make a little cheap effect. So effect, create above, and then if you haven't seen this one, this is the cheap man's particle system. And so EF effect, and which one do we want to have? Let's go for star, because hey, let's make it super cheesy. Then where do we want to have it? Let's go for the mouse X and Y position. And then you will see size. You can have a value between 0, 1 and 2. So let's go for the smallest one and see orange, because all the other ones look dreadful. And of course we can do the same stuff for the destruction. So we kind of have an input feature, or a feature which is just showing, hey, we are doing something there. This is kind of effective, even though it looks like I could say as, well, it looks like as. Okay, so let's go for that, and then fireworks. So let's check it out. Now we can destroy and create our first tiles. And for example, we're creating here. Wonder what's happening. We did this on the wrong. Beginner mistake as usual. Let's check it out again. And then bam. If we are destroying something, even though maybe you're not destroying anything, and then we are creating, and then we have, as you can see, a nice star just popping in, just like, hey, cool, we are doing something here. So here, just a little effect, and then for destruction, bam, 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 bam. Cool, cool, cool. All right, but for now, this is not actually representing the stuff which we want to create. So for now we are just flipping through the positions of our block, so the indexes, but we are not using that correctly with our monkey land tile set. So how can we do this? Well, kind of easy. I will just copy paste it, because hey, let's make life easy. So what do? We're just saying like, hey, this tile draw, so this is the thing which we are drawing, so the image index. And this one we want to represent with the actual cell number or index or whatever inside our tile set. And therefore we need to have variable which I call toSpawnTile, which we haven't created, and then at the start we set it to 2 because this is our star. So let's go back in here. So this is number 2, 3 and so on up to 12, and then we just define it in our step event, and depending on what kind of index we are in our drawing, so in our sprite, we are having a representative value inside our tileset. For example, now nothing is happening because I was a little bit too fast. Yeah, let's go. And now if we want to flip it to this specific one, we just have by our creation tile, because as you can see here, the tile data, so this index or this position or whatever you want to call it. And now we can flip through those and actually we can create those, which is pretty neat. So as you can see, then press it and we do it. Sweet. So it is working as intended. Nice, nice, nice. And for example, now if this is what you wanted to see, well, we are pretty much done with the tutorial, but maybe you want to say like, hey, I want to make a little bit more. I want to grab a specific tile and then replace it or change it. So here a little thing which is called where are you? No, let me give, here we go, Tilemap Get at Pixel, and this is very specific. So here let's store that into a variable, so let's call it text, and then here once again we need to have a few input parameters. This is grabbing at a specific position this specific tile, which is kind of the interesting part. So here it needs a few input parameters. So first of all, the tile set which we want to check on, and then an X and Y position. So basically we're just hovering somewhere over here, and then it will tell us, hey, what kind of ID position you are having. For that, well, we can go mouse X and Y. Of course we can go with the kind of grid clamp thing, but we don't need it, to be honest. So here we go. And of course we want to check out what kind of text it is. So we say, hey, draw text X, Y, and then make it a little bit above the thingy here, and then put it in. Bam. And now you will see, all right, what kind of thing which we are having. So for example, this is 129, 129, 129, and then of course these guys have different kind of numbers, and so you can actually check out what kind of tile ID, position, index, whatever you want to call that thing, we are actually hovering over. And this thing we can actually use and check out, hey, if we are destroying something, is it a valuable one? So we put that in here, but not call it text, but say grab tile, and then we can say like, hey, is that thing actually 129? So this was our tree, so is it 129? And then we can actually spawn something useful, because hey, we are doing some crafting or mining or resource gathering. So instance create, come on, and actually on the position which where do we want to have it? Let me give position X and position Y. So here we want to have these things also as a relative position, because we want to spawn this thing exactly, for example here, not somewhere, but we want to spawn it exactly in the same position as we are having this one, and therefore we need those X and Y positions, which are the relative ones, snapped to the grid, and therefore we need to, upon destruction, when we create a new thing, we want to create it on this very specific position, the instances, and here we just, I don't know, I have a little object which I called money, and then we just spawn it at this specific point. So let's check it out. So anyway, we will destroy or flip the tile. So let's say, for example, let's go near here, but once we press the right mouse button, bam, instances. Here we go. Beginner mistakes. Here we go. Come on. And let's go right mouse button here on this specific resource. So this is 129. Bam. And we create it. For example, here we just destroy it, but we say like, hey, cool. This is a very specific one. We want to create it here. And this is pretty much it. Hopefully that wasn't too difficult for you guys. So once again, there are of course more elaborate ways, and if you have some ideas where you want to go with this, maybe you're thinking like, I want to have a few more systems. If they are not too complicated, I can make a follow-up, of course, then make part 3 or whatever, but keep it brief because this needs to be universal so everybody can actually utilize it. If you are very specific, I cannot make a video about that because I'm going to make you happy, but for the other ones, they'll be like, don't need it, boring, I'm going to skip on this stuff, and this is not how it works. So hopefully you enjoyed it. After 26 minutes, wow, okay, a long video, but hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. Now you know how to work with with tilesets, and then of course with collisions. This will be part of the second video, and then you will see that this all works in. But of course, if you just wanted to know how this destruction and creation system works, hey, here you go. That was pretty much it. Have a good one. One up indie.